Hello everyone, Brick Horizon here, and today I've taken two of the Juggernaut sets from the August wave and put them together with some extra wheels to bring you the set that we should have gotten. This mock is about 16.5 inches long, or 42 centimeters long, which is bigger than a bowling pin. It is 6.7 inches wide, or 17 centimeters wide, and it's almost a foot tall with the nest fully extended. I'll also be going over the amount of minifigures that fits in this and more details, but first let me know in the comments what you'd like to see next. I also made instructions, which you can find on rebrickable. But anyways, here's the double Juggernaut. This build is scaled to the size of the wheels on the 2010 turbo tank, which are the only extra pieces you'll need to purchase to make this mock. To make sure that everything was properly scaled, I laid out a reference image of the turbo tank and matched it with the size of the wheels, and then began building the facade to match the side. I wanted to improve the original build, and to do that, I focused on a few main things like minimizing the gaps between the panels and making it look less like a 4 Plus set. Getting all of these details right was important since the original LEGO set left a lot to be desired in terms of detail, which resulted in an inaccurate build. Apart from the obvious problems like the random sand blue, which, while it does break up the colors, does not do a good job at looking the part. Instead, I've replaced most of the sand blue parts, except for the wheels, but that can be replaced with the light gray ones since there are so many of those round pieces from the original set. The large wheel pieces are the only extra pieces you'll need. There are 10 wheels on the turbo tank, and each wheel uses only 2 of this piece from the 2010 turbo tank, which is the same amount on that. One of the things that was really difficult for me was connecting the wheels together, since I only wanted to use pieces from the set except for those new wheels, which were necessary since you can't upscale circles. I needed to get creative. There are some Technic pinholes, which I've connected some pins through to keep it in place, and then I've mounted the cap on the end of it. The mechanism for the wheels is mostly the same, so it will be able to turn and move back in place with the suspension, but some of it is built differently to accommodate for the larger scale. I think the problem with the current turbo tank is the gaps and the lack of studs showing. While too many studs can make a set look dated, too little makes it look strange. This modification fixes that by finding a proper balance. One of the things that I found weird about the original set is the placement of the dark red lines and the cannon on the sides, which should have swapped places. I also used the snot technique to make it look like the cannon is actually extending out of the side, and you'd be able to use the stud shooter to fire missiles. I'm glad that the Juggernaut came with 3 stud shooters, and while that's a perfect amount for a UT-AT, which I've made a review on previously, having twice as many gives me some new opportunities for details. One of these is what I think are headlights on the sides. While they may not actually shoot anything, they still can, but this was the best parts use since it does look like the stud shooter in universe. There are also 4 tiny laser cannons on the lip of the turbo tank that I made with these bar and clip pieces. The other thing that you'll notice on the sides is the laser cannons. The Juggernaut set did include this, but they weren't very prominent. With this, I wanted them to stick out more, and while I wasn't able to make them stick out all of the way, I think I got them looking good enough where you can actually tell what's going on with them. There are also some minor greebles and color changes like the dark gray and tan here, as well as some of the angled pieces that are accurately represented. The stickers from the original set are also utilized in the same places they would normally go, so the ones on the front and the 2 in the back, but there isn't need for more unless you want to add the console pieces. Now I'll quickly go over the side builds. There are 4 extra vehicles for the Republic and 1 enemy to run over. The clones get 2 extra ATRTs that I was able to make with extra pieces from the set. These are also pretty close to minifigure scale since they're so small. I also wanted to make a cannon, utilizing the round pieces from the original wheels to make the legs of it, but I also used some more Technic pieces for the barrel. Since there were so many sand blue pieces, I wanted to make use of them somehow, so now we have a uniquely colored command station with a radar tower. This is reminiscent of the 2010 Clone Battle Pack and more recently the Phase 1 Clone Pack. The last extra build is the Hailfire Droid. I ended up with 2 extra stud shooters and a lot of these pieces from the wheels, so the thing that came to mind was building something that I'd never attempted to build before. While this isn't groundbreaking, it's certainly a good build for being out of extra pieces, and it is fun that it has stud shooters as well as the 1 red eye in the middle. Now I don't have a problem with the transparent blue pieces. I think the real problem is how it clashes with the other sand blue. On the windscreen, I also used the transparent plates so that light can get through on the inside and the minifigures can see out. This is true for the front and the back. Like I said earlier, the shaping of the turbo tank was one of the first things I started on. There are a lot of unique angles, so I'm glad that everything was able to work, especially in the back. Having the bottleneck at one angle and then also angling the rear end to make a trapezoid was something I didn't notice was a detail until later on when I added more hinges to the design. The bottleneck itself is very similar to the original model too, as it uses mostly the same pieces, with a few small additions like the 2x2 plate in the middle. The top is really interesting, but I'll get to my favorite part in a minute. In the front are a lot of round and angled pieces, so I copied the technique of the original set and used a hinge brick to make it even again. There are also a few greebles on the top, with some round and bar pieces that not a lot of people noticed. The tower is also completely redesigned. While I wasn't able to top it off, it does have a proper place for the clone to sit, as well as a comfy backrest, plus better shaping and a ladder built with these plates for you to get up on it. If you don't want it to be this tall, you can either take it off completely, or you can remove the ladder part and attach it closer to the roof. Moving back even more, it was requested that there would be at least one place where a minifigure could stand and look like it's using one of the guns, so I went with here since this was the best place to put him, and there's already a good structure underneath to support it. This gun also uses the same techniques as the original set. Moving back, we have some of these large rectangles sloping downward. I'm not sure what they are, but they could be heat sinks or batteries. These I built with grills and tiles on top. They slope into the bottleneck, which has more greebling, and the last part of the back, which is my favorite, is the cannon here. This one I made pretty early on since I noticed the shape and immediately knew which pieces I would be using. I'm really proud of the look on this and happy with the functionality where it can move up and down to aim it. To access the interior, you can open the large side panels in two sections, the front and the back. There are a total of 20 seats on the inside for clone troopers or whoever else might be accompanying them. Each clone has enough room to fit side by side, and even two drivers in the front, which have access to the control panel to drive this Juggernaut. I also made significant upgrades to the structure. The Technic lift arms, which were previously used on the axles for the wheels, make up not only the ladder at the top, but the structure that keeps this up. These also act as pinch points at the bottom of the structure so that it doesn't randomly fall apart like the playset can occasionally do. I also made it so that the flat side connects to Technic pins so it doesn't fall down, while the ones in the back are angled so they won't have to worry about falling down. Under that is the belly, which I wanted to make sure got detail since it's really small on the original model. One of the things that I liked about that though was the indent in the middle. I used a similar technique in the middle of this one for seating, but other than that, everything is made with snot pieces. I also made the rebling with the suspension system, which is made of the same pieces from the original set, except for one in the very back, which is supposed to look different, and I made that representation with another bar piece. There should also be enough room in the middle section to fit both of the extra ATRTs. To close the panels, you can just put them in place. The ones in the back are angled inwards, so you don't have to worry about them collapsing, but I did make sure to connect the main panels with pins so it won't fall. That was the double knot build, as I've dubbed it, or the modification of two juggernauts with only a few extra pieces for the wheels. If you are interested in getting the instructions to this mock, you can find them on rebrickable or through the link in the description. If you enjoyed, then please leave a like on this video and subscribe for more LEGO Star Wars mocks, and let me know in the comments what other builds you'd like to see from me. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.